It's Father's Day morning. Walt has gone off to San Francisco to go to the opera. So I'm spending the day here at home, and I thought I would take a few minutes to record some thoughts about Father's Day. I've thought about doing this before, and actually, for anybody who reads my journal, there probably won't be anything new in here. Father's Day is kind of a weird holiday, Father's Day and Mother's Day both. I remember when I was growing up, it was always a big deal. I remember my father always bought a big expensive gift for my mother for Mother's Day, and my mother did the same thing for him, and we always had a big family dinner for both. But when Walt said to me one year, a long time ago, well, why should I do anything for you? You're not my mother. I decided that, okay, Father's Day and Mother's Day can be what it really is, which is a Hallmark occasion. So he doesn't do anything for me for Mother's Day, and I don't do anything for him for Father's Day. But it's more important for me that what Walt was and is a really good father to our kids. Our kids love him. Our kids think he's a great dad. Our kids are always talking about how he's a great dad. And I think that's much more important than being hurt because he doesn't consider Mother's Day something that needs to be celebrated. My father was, how do you describe my father? My father was a really funny guy and a really fun guy. My mother, even though she divorced him after 35 years, still says today that nobody could make her laugh the way that Al did. And it's true. I mean, he could get you rolling in the aisles, I think about the funny things he did. But I can't enjoy those funny memories because my father was what I guess in psychological terms today is called a rageaholic. You never knew when he was going to fly off the handle. And what he would do is something would upset him. Now, it could be something like the telephone ringing at the wrong time, or it could be something we had done, or it could be, I remember one time he got livid because he had run into two nuns who were visiting from out of town, and he offered to show them San Francisco. And when he was gone for the day, and when he came home, he was furious because he had wasted his whole day showing these women around town. Well, what happened when my father got angry like that was he took it out on the whole family. I mean, there were only three of us. It was 3 against 1. But he would go into these very, very, very loud silences, where he wouldn't talk for days or weeks. And you never were really sure what caused it, and you were never really sure what brought him out of it. But suddenly, all of a sudden, it was gone, and he was back being the same old happy, jolly person again. So when I look at pictures of my father, and I think about fun things that we did. I wrote a journal entry recently about driving up to my grandmother's house. My grandmother lived out in the country. And we would drive up there. It was before the highways, and so we'd go through this country road, and there was a paddock where there was a horse, and the horse was very obviously pregnant. And when she gave birth, every time we went to see my grandmother, which wasn't very often because he hated that drive, we'd stop and pet the colt. And I think of that as a very warm time. We'd bring sugar cubes or we'd bring carrots or something for the horse. But every time we got on that road, it was a very windy road, and I had car sickness, and I always threw up, and he always got angry with me. So here I am, this little kid, sick to my stomach, vomiting on the side of the road, knowing that I have made my father angry. And that's kind of the way life was growing up, And when I look back on it now, I don't remember my father ever saying, I love you, that wasn't followed with, but. I'm telling you this because I love you, or I love you, but there's this terrible thing about yourself that I need to tell you. I don't remember him just taking me in his arms and saying, I love you. I don't really remember there being any physical affection that I felt genuine about. I'd give him a hug and a kiss when we left, but it was like one of the things that you have to do because it's your father, and that's what families do. So every time Father's Day comes around, I have a hard time with it. Even now that he's been dead several years, in his last years, well, actually, I think ever since I was a teenager, buying a Father's Day card was terrible. It was a horrible, horrible, horrible thing because every card talks about what a great dad you are, or most cards talk. So trying to find one that made a joke about beer drinking or something that where you were giving a card but you weren't emotionally involved, that was what I did. So I look at Walt, and I look at the relationship that he has with the kids, and one of the things that I am most grateful about in my marriage is that Walt is such a good dad. He wasn't the disciplinarian. I was the disciplinarian, so I got to be the bad guy. But he was always the kid's pal, and I really wish that I had had a pal like that. When I listen to Tim Russert talking about the book he wrote about the mystique between children and their fathers, I'm thinking that's something I'll never know, but it's something that my kids know. So at least I gave them that. So happy Father's Day to Walt, and wherever my father is, I hope he's happy finally.